Hi, Matt with etrailer. If you're trying to move equipment from point A to point B and you need a good way to secure it down to make sure your load is tied down tight enough, then the Durabilt Ratcheting Chain Binder is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. Now, Durabilt is going to have a lot of different variation of chain binders, and the one we're going to have today is going to be specific to chains of either sizes 5/16 or 3/8. Either size of that, it will be able to grab on via those clevis hooks, and it's going to be rated up to 8,800 pounds. Now, it is important that that's going to work with your load and that you're going from the lowest rated component. Because actually today our chains are going to be rated for 6,600 pounds. So instead of going from 8,800 pounds, I'd go from 6,600 pounds, just so we don't damage any of our equipment. Now, I've used chain binders quite a bit, and they're great for if you need to carry any of those larger loads, like if you're carrying any type of agricultural or any construction equipment that is going to be very large and you need chains to strap it down. Chain binders are perfect for that because they're just really easy to use for the most part. And there's going to be two types of them. The first type is going to be a lever style. And with the lever style, there's going to be some pros and cons. So the main pro is they're probably going to be the fastest ones to use. And what I mean by that is instead of having to ratchet something down with a lever, you're just going to be pulling something down into place until everything's nice and tight. Now, the cons to that though is if you don't get it tight enough on the first try, it's going to take you a few tries. And sometimes trying to get it hooked on the right length to be tight enough can be pretty difficult. And even when you do get it tight enough, it can take a lot of force to put that into place. And then on top of that, you gotta be careful, because if it were to come back up, you need to make sure you're not in the vicinity of getting hit by it, because it could really hurt you. And that's why I really like these ratcheting styles, because with a ratcheting style, it's gonna be a little more forgiving if you don't perfectly match it up to begin with. And that's gonna be because when I extend it out, this is going to have a lot more wiggle room. It can extend out pretty far. So if I overextend it just a little bit and I just put it on a location, if I tighten this down enough, it's probably going to be good at the end of the day. Now, it's going to take a little bit more time to ratchet this down to the right tightness, but I'd rather take that over something that could potentially hurt me. And now I got this extra one just laying here, and really get a measurement real quick from hook to hook. That's going to be a little bit under 24 inches for that total length. Now, this is going to be in its more compact position. When you extend this out by pressing in that paw, you just twist it out, and this will be able to extend out to a full length of 31.5 inches. So that's pretty good. That's going to give you a lot of extra play when you are trying to tighten this down. And talk about tightening it down, let me show you how it's going to work. The way I like to start off is with it in the more extended position, and you can see these threads exposed. Now, I recommend not extending that out completely because you run the risk of those falling out of the barrel, and it just makes it a little more tricky to work with. But where I'm going to begin with is just taking the clevis hook and hook it onto these links. So we're just going to attach it here. And I always like to go on the opposite side from a weld, just so we have a little bit of a better fit. And it's just sliding in there pretty smoothly, so I'm not finding too much resistance with that. So that's pretty nice. It's always pretty tricky if you have one that's going to have a lot of resistance, and when you're trying to get these on there pretty tight, you want it to go on there a little bit smoother than not. Something else that I like about these is we're going to have some numbers on the side of the hooks themselves. Once I get this fully on there, there we go. You'll notice right over here, I flip this around to the side, it's going to have some numbers. That's going to be the link sizes that are going to work with this, so if you ever forget what sizes work, you have a reminder right there. It also lists the weight capacity too. And from here, you can just start ratcheting it down, and sometimes I'll forget if it's in the tightened or not tightened position, so I'll just start using it and seeing how it's going to work. And right now, I can already tell it's loosening up. So I'm just going to flip that paw around. There's going to be two sides to it. It moves pretty easy. I'm not finding too much resistance, so that's nice. And then we'll just start tightening it down. Now this is moving pretty smoothly. Something I was a little worried about was some of the powder coat we have inside of this gear. Now you can see some of it is coming loose, like right here. We got a little bit of a chip. That's okay, it's not really impeding my work at all. And right about here, I am finding we do get a decent amount of resistance. Not a bad idea just to check how tight we got this. And I typically like to leave my handle facing towards the inside of our trailer, just so it's not going to get knocked in the way of anything on the road. It's just a safer place just in general. And then we just make sure we take this excess chain, bind it up, and secure it down however you find is best. And talking about that handle, we can take a closer look at it. So if I get that measurement of the length, that's going to be roughly about 13 inches. So I find that's a pretty good amount of leverage to get on this. So if you're finding it hard to tighten down, I think that extra length is going to help us out some. Now, if you're not a big fan of the lever being there still, even when you're done tightening this into place, Durabilt does have another variation of this chain binder. It's going to be one that has a removable handle. So it's just going to offer you more of a clean look overall. Now, something else that I do like about the handle is at the very end, there's going to be this hole. That hole is actually designed to work with a padlock, just in case you want to secure this down so no one's coming by and messing with your load. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to have a powder coat to it. And this isn't just going to be on the barrel and handle, it's also going to be on the clevis hooks and the links in between. And what that's going to do for you is it's going to help it be more weather resistant. So when you're driving all different types of terrains, this should help it last longer and help it not rust. And it's also going to help it be more visible. Since we do have this brighter red, you can keep a better eye on your load when you're just checking on it to make sure everything is still secure. Now, something I did note with that powder coat is right in that gear that I talked about earlier, it does look like some is coming off already. Now it is a thicker powder coat, and actually I was worried about that preventing me from using that handle or that tightening device well, but I didn't have any issues earlier. And it is going to be made from forged steel, so this is going to be very durable, and we can actually get a better look of that when we take a look at these threads. Now I'm happy we don't have any powder coat in here, because I think if we did, that'd really impede us from using this properly, because when I do use this does feel smooth. But at the end of the day, this is going to be more of a standard ratcheting chain binder. Now the biggest thing just to make sure of when you're checking these out is to make sure it's going to meet your specs. So making sure it's going to work with the type of chain that you're using to haul with, and making sure it's going to meet your load requirements too. And then after that, it just really comes down to what type of variation do you want, meaning how do you want any other type of extensions to the binder itself, or if you want a different type of handle. But today, this was just a look at the Durabilt Ratcheting Chain Binder that has a weight capacity of up to 8,800 pounds. But again, I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.